الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقدموا بين يدي الله ورسوله واتقوا الله إن الله سميع عليم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا ترفعوا أصواتكم فوق صوت النبي ولا تجهروا له بالقول كجهر بعضكم لبعض أن تحبط أعمالكم وأنتم لا تشعرون. إن الذين يغضون أصواتهم عند رسول الله أولئك الذين امتحن الله قلوبهم للتقوى لهم مغفرة وأجر عظيم. إن الذين ينادونك من وراء الحجرات أكثرهم لا يعقلون. صدق الله العظيم. These ayahs that I have just recited from the beginning of Surah Al-Hujurat, everyone who will look at the translation of the ayahs can at least understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching the ummah the adab with Allah and adab with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Scholars have always written in their books that ad-deenu kulluhu adab. This deen is all based on adab. A person who would have respect for deen, that person will benefit from it, and a person who will not have any adab, any respect, will not benefit from it. Although at a time where we are living now, generally the concept of adab and respect is totally out. People in reality, they don't know what is adab, they don't know what is respect. Respecting Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is something that most of the people cannot even understand what would that mean. Because they haven't seen any examples of respect in their life to their elders. Forget about respecting someone who is not with them at this time. Respect for parents. Respect for teachers, which is in Islam and in our deen, if you look at it, it's considered the fundamental rule for being with these people, with parents and teachers, that you must respect them before anything else. But we see that really people have lost that concept. What is respect to parents? They don't even know what does it mean. Respect to teachers? It's totally out of question. And if someone goes to the schools and see how students dealing with teachers, how they behave in their schools, in their class, that is enough to say everything. A lot of our people get so impressed by how sometimes people are dressing, that mashallah, look how they're well dressed, and they don't lie, they don't cheat, and people are well mannered. But in reality, when you start dealing with people, you see that adab is not there. This dress would not do anything if adab, the person himself, mentally, he does not know what does adab and respect means. And the Sharia, our deen, is based on adab and respect. Starting from having adab and respect for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then respect with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, respect with our parents, respect for the teachers, and not only teachers, at this time, and of course this is something that is very special with this deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we have the complete silsila, the chain of our ulum, of our sciences. That if we are learning hadith, there is a complete chain of narrators in the hadith. In our salasil of tasawwuf, there is complete chain that goes all the way up to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. For the qira'at, the person who would learn how to recite Quran with the qira'ah, there is a complete chain again that goes up to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It is part of our educational system, and part, in fact, is part of our deen and learning deen, that the person should and must respect not only his teachers, all the scholars that are in his silsila up to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And not only them, in fact, respect to all the scholars of the Islam. All the scholars of Islam that came in the past, we have to respect all of them. Then we look at the silsila and the chain of Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam. From Adam alayhi salatu wassalam up to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Respect for all the Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam. Although Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is our teacher, is our prophet, but we have to respect Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and all the Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam up to Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. So this respect is the root of learning and practicing this deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If a person would not understand the concept of respect in this deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will not learn how to respect according to the teachings of Islam and teachings of this deen, this person may be able to practice deen to a certain level, but this is for sure and guaranteed that he will not get to any high levels from according to the deen and in deen. Hopefully, inshallah, Allah will not deprive him from the being at least on the basics and on the lower level of the deen. But without adab, getting to the higher levels of deen, it's not possible. This is for sure and this is guaranteed. A person can be knowledgeable, can have a lot of knowledge, more knowledge than available on the internet. He can get more knowledge than you can have on a CD-ROM. Or you can have on a hard drive, and just imagine of a biggest hard drive that is available out there. If his memory is better than this, and he memorized everything, he's only competing with hard drives and he's competing with computers. He cannot be a good mu'min. He cannot be on a higher level in the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is something that we need to remember. Without adab, there is no deen. Ad-deenu kulluhu adab. This deen is all based on adab. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Quran al-Kareem tells us about our parents. إِمَّا يَبْلُغَنَّ عِنْدَكَ الْكِبَرَ أَحَدُهُمَا أَوْ كِلَاهُمَا فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ. Your parents, when they are getting to the old age, even at that time, don't even say uff to your parents. No time to go into too much details of every ayah that we recite here, or every order that we would talk about, but briefly to understand what is it that Allah is telling us in this ayah. Why does He say when they get into the old age? Does it mean when they are young you can say uff to them? No. When they are young you would never do it. You will get something back. But when they are old, that's the time when you are not afraid that you'll get a slap. Now you can say whatever you want because you are serving them and they depend on you. They depend on you for doing a lot of things. So now you start opening up your mouth. And then in the old age, we know sometimes people start saying things out of nowhere. They get angry also a lot. These type of things happen in the old age. So even at that time, when they are in the old age, and they just keep on saying things, which normally a person in a right age will not keep on saying these type of things. But even at that time, Quran says, don't even say uff to them. And what does uff mean? Does it mean uttering the word uff? Not necessarily. As Mufassirin have explained, that uff means in any way, form or shape, letting them know that you are not willing to do something that they would like to be done. You do not want to fulfill their order. For example, bring me a glass of water. Okay. And you get up, you bring the water. You brought the water. But when you stretched out and that voice that you made, or just stretching out in front of them, showing them that I'm tired, this is uff. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, don't even say uff to them. You brought the water, you fulfilled the order, but you said uff to them in this way. You should have fulfilled the order without saying uff. فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا. What is this? Teaching us the adab with our parents. Of course, if we are out somewhere and we talk about this ayah of Quran, most of the people may just laugh at it. They wouldn't be able to understand and figure out what are we talking about. In a society where children are openly cursing at their mothers, on their face. All kind of words, they use it straight on their face for their parents. They will not spare any word that they have learned, a curse word that they have learned somewhere. They will not spare any of those words from their parents when they are upset with their parents. Once, someone called me for counseling. That my children, they're totally getting out of my control, so could you, if you come and talk to them? And especially the person had some issues at that time that he was dealing with his children about. I'm sitting there, and the children, one of them at least, is sitting on a couch with the feet facing towards the father. And you look at it, there is no way that this person would understand and is willing to understand that this is against adab. What do you mean? I can't even sit that way? I can't sit properly? And then, as we are talking, the same child will use the word jerk for for the father. She's not too old. She's a girl. And she says, don't listen to what my father is telling you about us because he's a jerk. And the dad says, he laughs. He says, Sheikh, please don't mind it. They call me jerk sometime and I enjoy it. I didn't say it, but of course I really wanted to say it, then you are. But amazing, look. This is a normal situation out there, where there is no other. Once I'm invited in a college to give a talk about Islam. I entered the class and I couldn't believe that I was really in a class setup. A couple of students are sitting on the desk, boys and girls together, sitting on top of the desk. I thought it may be that a break time or something, and I'm looking inside. No, the teacher is standing there. Oh, welcome and whatever, okay. I realized, okay, this is the setup of the class. Now, I'm talking, and some of them are sitting like this, sitting on the chair and the feet on the desk like this. And this is the setup of the class, and this is when there is a guest in the class. And a class that is, at least religious class, I'm sure to every nation, maybe more respectable than any other class. This is the highest level of respect now we are looking at there. People don't know what is adab. They don't know what is respect. Then, in the same class, one of the students was supposed to present a 5-minute talk about their religion, and then I would say about Islam. And after he presented his talk and everything is done, then the teacher, then in fact the student asked everyone, he said, sometime when God does, this is waliyaz these are words of kufr, but the one who's saying it is kafir too, so it doesn't matter. But I'm just narrating to see, so that we realize how low the adab is, and in fact how people, and in fact without adab, how low the person would get. This person asked, sometime God does things that we don't like. And sometime when I get upset with these things that happen to me, and I know God does everything, and when He does things to me that I don't like, I curse at Him. And then he asked the next question. He says, who else here curses at God when God does things that you don't like? To me, I'm sitting in a shock. And the first person to raise his hand was the teacher of that religious class. Believe me, he was the first person who raised his hand. He says, yeah, I do it when I get angry with God. This is subhanallah. You can imagine, I'm sure those scholars of Islam who said this, ad-deenu kulluhu adab, they never seen all of this. But still, they got to the conclusion that ad-deenu kulluhu adab. Imagine if they would have seen this, what they would have said. Now this is for me and you to learn that a lot of time we stick to the fara'id and wajibat. And about everything we are asking, is it obligatory? Is it fard? Is it sunnah? If it is sunnah, what type of sunnah? Muakkada or ghair muakkada? The bottom line is I don't want to do it. Except if I'm forced to it. Now a person who would have this type of connection with deen, of only fara'id and wajibat, where is he going to get the adab from? Where is he going to learn this adab from? If we don't have adab with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, am I obligated to do it? Or I have the option of not doing it? And if I have the option, I'm not doing it. This is our continuous way of dealing with this deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is why we are not getting anywhere with it. Really, it's such a topic. When you start looking at the orders of deen, every order of deen you will see so much adab and respect in it that it looks like Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam through fara'id, whether they are sunan or wajibat or they are nawafil, mustahabbat, through everything he is teaching us adab. And as soon as adab comes out of it, even the fard will not be of any benefit. One of the orders of Islam to cover up the satr, to the extent that even if a person is all by himself, he should cover up his private parts. No one in the house, no one would see this person. Still, this is the adab in our deen, that this person should not be totally naked, totally without clothing. When we look at the order of Sharia, why Sharia orders us to do this? No one is going to see. So why it is haram? And Deen says, because this is adab with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is watching you. For a long time, this was a question in my mind. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees you in every situation, and even if a person is having clothing on, for Allah it doesn't make any difference. Nothing is covered from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So why fuqaha are saying this is adab with Allah? Until one day I found the answer. I was searching for something else. I really, to tell you the truth, I never thought I would find the answer for it in any of our books. So I just left it, okay, adab and question that I don't know the answer for. My ignorance, that's it. And one day I'm searching for something else, especially when I think that was the time when I was writing the book of Tahara. And I was searching for something in Shami. Allama Shami rahmatullahi alayhi have touched on this in Kitab al-Tahara. And he says that covering the satr is adab in Sharia. And even when you are by yourself, you cover your satr. Then he himself raises the question that why a person should cover up from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if it makes no difference. Then he answers that question by saying that to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala both are seen. The one who is covered and the one who is not covered, he sees both of them without nothing being hidden from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but he sees the one that is covering his satr is having adab with Allah, and the one who is not covering his satr is not having adab and respect for Allah. This is the difference, that Allah sees at least that you have adab for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and out of respect for Allah, you are covering it up, and He will reward you for your adab. More than reward. And to tell you the truth, if someone will ask how much reward you get, more than reward is the blessings that you would get. When parents see one of the child is very respectful, out of all children, one of the children is very respectful. The others are not that respectful. Of course, they will have love for this child. That is very respectful. The child was sitting on the window. Parents come, right away runs to the door. Parents feel like hugging this child. You know, he rushes here to me. He runs to me every time. And he's sitting on the window waiting for me. They are late, he would call. So they see so much respect. As soon as parents come out of the car, he runs to the car. Let me carry whatever you are having. I will carry it to the house. You don't carry it. No, you just go and rest. I will carry it for you. That develops love. This is adab with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has forbidden us from reciting Quran in ruku' and sujood. We all know this order, that it is forbidden for a person to recite Quran in ruku' and sujood. When you are in ruku' or you are in sujood. And the same thing, the same reason that fuqaha have mentioned for it, that in ruku' and sujood is a position of humbling yourself. And the words of Allah are great. They deserve greatness. So adab for the words of Allah, that when you are in salah, at a point of humbling yourself, going down, you don't recite the ayahs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You recite the ayahs of Allah when you are up and you're standing up, to give them that adab, to show that adab with the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Same thing, when a person is performing the salah, the order is, don't pass in front of this person now. And the reason is seen. فَإِنَّهُ إِنَّمَا يُنَاجِي رَبَّهُ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى. He's talking to his Rabb subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you are going to be walking in front of him against the adab. You see one of the elders talking to another person, and you won't try to pass in between them. You don't go in front of that elder, just right in front of his face. So same thing, adab with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that when a person is talking to Allah, person performing the salah, you don't walk in front of this person. This is adab with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then we start going further, looking at where does this other applies, how does it apply. Really, as I said, in reality, there isn't anything, anywhere, any order of Sharia where adab does not apply. You pick up the Quran, there is adab for picking the Quran. Pick it up properly. Have respect for the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't touch it without wudu. Don't put it on the ground. Don't carry it just like you carry your shoes. But a lot of time people, see, because that concept of adab is gone, people can't understand it. And in a lot of places, a lot of masajid, you see people putting Qurans on the floors. More than this, I have seen with my own eyes people putting the Quran on the same shelf of the shoes, wal-iyazu billah. And you tell the person he cannot understand. Believe me, it's a situation where a mu'min, a believer, cannot understand. What do you mean? Why can't I put it over here? He's putting Quran and shoes together, but he cannot understand what does adab means here. He says, show me a hadith. Really? Where does it say in hadith you have to do this? For adab, you don't need a hadith. Respect is a respect. It's something that is so common. Someone will say, وَلَيَعَزُ بِاللَّهِ وَلَيَعَزُ بِاللَّهِ, eating pork is haram, but eating the dirt of pork is not haram, because in Quran doesn't say eating the dirt of pork is haram. The najasa that comes from the pork, urine of pork, is haram. Where does it say in Quran or hadith? Or even of human beings, is it haram? You tell them haram. Where does it say in Quran and hadith? So these things are so obvious that everyone knows. Adab is so obvious that you would see it. There was a person. He always, a good friend, he always used to tell me, he says, you people really are too much into this. And especially about putting Quran on the floor. So I told him, in the masjid, you will not put Quran on the floor. That's for sure. If you do it, I'll do something about it. We were good friends, and every time he sees me, he says, I don't put it only because of you, not because I think this is adab. He would not understand. One day I went to his home, he invited us, and we went to his home. When we entered the house, there were couches over there, I sat on the floor. He says, no, Sheikh, come and sit up. I said, no, I'm fine here. No, sit up. I said, why? He said, no, please. I said, this is what I have been trying to teach you all of this time. Put Quran up. And you say, no, this is not adab. Now you feel that this is disrespect to me if I'm sitting down. And it will be good respect for me if I would sit up. Subhanallah, for human beings like us, this is respect that if they would sit up. And for the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we don't even have this much respect. At that time he said, yes, now I understand. So in reality, it's adab. And the whole deen is based on adab. Adab with everything really, with our, especially the teachers of deen, the ones that we learn our deen from. If we don't have respect for them, and for all the ulama of the ummah, of the scholars of the past, we will be deprived of the knowledge of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the barakah of the knowledge of the deen. There will be no barakah. That's for sure. To the extent Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is teaching us the adab, he says that when you visit someone, you could be the biggest scholar in the world. You visit someone in that person's home, that person has the right to leave the salah. It's not that you on your own, you go in front to the front because I am the imam. You may be the imam of your masjid, but you're visiting that person's house. Adab for this person, that if that person is not asking you to leave the salah, then he has the first choice. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, وَلَا يَقْعُدْ عَلَى تَكْرِمَتِهِ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِهِ. Don't sit at the place of his respect without his permission. If he doesn't ask you to sit, there is, say for example, you go to the office. There is a chair behind the desk. This chair belongs to this person who is in this office, who works in this office. And there is another chair for the visitors. Now, you are visiting someone who may have some respect for you. He gets up, he comes to you, and you go and sit on his chair. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, no, don't do this. It's against the adab. A lot of masajid, they see as soon as the salah is over, imam moves out, someone will go and walk on the musalla of the imam to do the sunnah. This is the takrimah. This is the place of respect of the imam. This is his place. That is his place. Don't stand at other people's special place of respect. Don't sit on their place of respect when you go to someone's home and you see there is a place over there that by the look of it, you can say that this owner of the house, our host, will sit over here. And you intentionally go and sit over there. Sharia is teaching us this is against the adab. This is disrespect. You should not be disrespectful to the people. So adab is something that we really have to learn. It will not come without learning. And even learning, more than learning it from books, because not everything would be spelled out over there. It will be learning from people of adab, from those who have adab, from those of our scholars and our elders who know what adab is, being around them and learning this adab from them. And of course, if we spend the life of I don't care, which is the general thing out there, I don't care. Who cares? Then of course we will not benefit from the knowledge of deen, from our deen generally, and the barakah of deen. We will not get, as I said, this is for sure, we will not get to any level, a higher level of deen for sure, without having the proper adab with everyone. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to learn this adab, and to have this adab with Allah, with the deen of Allah, with the book of Allah, with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and everything that is attached, that has any type of attachment with Allah and with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.